Well, I'm sure the inbound has increased dramatically over the past year or two, and it reminds me of a Will Smith quote that you highlighted, and that is Will Smith said, "Becoming famous is amazing. Being famous is a mixed bag. Losing fame is miserable." And maybe you're not so famous, so the point where you walk down the street and people are saying Morgan Housel, but enough people know you and know who you are that I'm sure. I'm curious from your perspective, how does becoming well known in your field resonate with that quote?
I think it's always been the case for the 16 years of me as a writer that you don't know who's reading your stuff ever. And even if you can see the numbers, oh, this blog post got X page views, it doesn't really mean anything. You're not really actually putting faces behind it. So it's obviously a completely different universe from somebody like Will Smith who can't walk out of his house without being bombarded. But I think it's always if you do try to like contextualize the numbers of like, oh, this blog post got this tweet got this many page views, the book sold this many copies. And if you actually try to like imagine that many faces, if anything, it's not pleasant. It's actually terrifying. And you also see it when your readership increases. I mean, it's always a case of like, what percentage of the world population is just wacko, insane, crazy, like whatever you want it to be. 1%, 1/10 of 1%. I don't know what it is. So if you have a blog post or a tweet or something that has 1 million plus impressions, you do the math. There's going to be 100 or 1,000 people who are completely crazy insane, and those are the people who are most likely to reach out to you and tell you how stupid you are, how crazy you are, how quickly you are going to hell, et cetera, et cetera. Those are the people who are going to make themselves known. So that's like the downside is like, as your platform scales, the hate tends to get louder. It's this weird counterintuition where it's like, you think that your platform is scaling because there's more people who like your stuff, which is probably true, but it's the feeling is the opposite. It's like the more your readership grows, the more hate mail you get is what it is. It's like the positive emails might stay the same, but the hate mail grows exponentially. There's that can sometimes be the case. So it's like, I guess that's the way of answering your question of like, what is it like? It's not really a thing. And if there is anything, it probably leans a little bit negative, I would say.
That's fascinating. But I wonder how much you minimize in your own head the opportunities that are now available because of the success that the fact that you were on Tim Ferriss, right, is not something that you were being asked to do 4 years ago. But I mean, that's an incredible thing to get your reach to more people, but it doesn't feel amazing.
I don't think it really, I think what's true is that what's going to make anybody happy, by and large, I'm generalizing here, but it's like your relationship with your spouse. If you're a parent, like the health and well-being and happiness of your children, your own health, that's 90% of your own happiness. And I love Tim, but being on the Tim Ferriss podcast is not going to crack the top 30 things of points that are going to make you happy in any given day. It's great. I don't want to minimize it in the slightest, but it's so easy to overestimate how certain things will make you happy. And because it's those like core things of like, there was this great article years ago, and I'm recalling this from memory, so I might be getting parts of this wrong, but Julia Roberts, I think, won an Oscar, and then like the next day it was revealed that her husband had cheated on her, or this is something like, if I'm getting those details wrong, I'm sorry, but I'm pretty sure that's what it was. And so someone wrote a newspaper article, and they're like, here's the $1 million question. Would you trade shoes with Julia Roberts? Would you take winning an Oscar and being the most famous actress in the world for this personal catastrophe that she suffered? And then the other question is like, did Julia Roberts have a good week? She wins an Oscar, and then the next day it's revealed, like on TMZ, that her husband cheated on her. Like, is that a good week? No, on net, that's the worst week you can possibly imagine. So there's all these like external career things that you would think are like, oh, this person must be so happy. And it's like, they might be, but if they are happy, it's probably because they have good friends, good spouse, happy kids, good health, those kind of things. That's 90% of anyone's happiness.
When did you realize that?
So my wife and I have been together for 16 years, and we've always had a very good, happy relationship. So I feel like, but I think I've always known like that's going to be the huge majority of my happiness. When my kids were born, it was always like, okay, that's anything work related just got pushed down a mile away in terms of like what's actually going to make me happy. So I think any parent can relate to that. That's not a unique feeling. But I mean, there were certain things with the book of like, I thought if you had asked me 5 years ago how I would feel if it did this, I would have said, oh, it would be, I'll be 10 times happier. And it's not, of course it's not anywhere close to that. So, that's not a complaint, but it's interesting to experience it, but it just drives home the fact that it's like your spouse, kids, health, etc. Those are the things that mean everything more than anything career related.